The EDI control system for a distributor uses some intrinsically safe sensors. This particular bracket is a bracket that would be used on a swing set distributor, but the idea, the principle is the same. They use the same sensors, the same springs, the same sensor block or a very similar sensor block. But one of the big troubleshooting questions that we get is, what's wrong with my distributor? Why won't my sensors work? Usually they're pretty durable item, and normally it's just an adjustment. Normally the reason it requires adjustment, the biggest reason, is somebody takes the sensor apparatus apart and tries to put it back together and doesn't get it back together correctly. But the big things to remember: number one, the sensors are screwed into the sensor block and they're recessed a quarter turn back from flush. So that's the proper distance that the sensor block holds the sensor away from the code bar or code wheel. The other item is spring pressure. This block rides on a code wheel or a code bar, and it has to have some spring pressure to hold it steady and flat against that code bar or code wheel. The proper amount of spring pressure is when there's approximately a good 1/4 inch of shoulder of the shoulder bolts showing above the bracket. This is a synchro set, or it could be a rotary set distributor bracket, and on some of the new style swing sets. But there again, the principle's the same. The proper amount of spring pressure is when there's about a 1/4 inch of shoulder of the shoulder bolts showing above the bracket. Each sensor has a pilot light on the back of the sensor, and in troubleshooting while you're up at the distributor, if you pull the sensors out and you want to make sure that they work, you can change state of the sensor by putting a piece of magnetic metal in front of the sensor, and it'll blink. The pilot light will go off. That signal comes from and goes to a Turk relay down in the control box. There's an indicator light for each sensor. The sensors are labeled 1 and 2. The pilot light will be opposite of the Turk relay light. In other words, when the number 1 sensor light is off at the distributor, it's on the Turk relay. And the same thing with the number 2 sensor. When it's on the pilot light, it's off on the Turk relay.